Welcome to SmokeHouseStudios.net. The in-studio broadcast feed is now live.
Warning. This show is about the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you are easily offended by the truth, then you need to keep listening. His return is drawing near.
SmokeHouseStudios.net. The Front Porch Show. A unique blend of current events and what they might mean. Humbly seen through the eyes of God's Word, the Bible, in an old school front porch discussion with occasional guests, your input, and a guiding hand through Christ. Broadcasting from atop the front porch, it's SmokeHouseStudios.net's The Front Porch Show. Now, carefully blending more smoke goodness in each and every soundbite, your host, Smokehouse.
Well, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, friends. Wherever you may be across the globe and across the United States, old Smokehouse with you here. SmokeHouseStudios.net on this March the 23rd, 2019. We have been delivered from a major crash here in the studio, friends, and we're back to you. Tickled to death to be here, and thank you so much for understanding and being a part. I mean, this has just been a total wipeout in the studio. I'll get into a little bit of what all crashed and what all burned up and what we had to replace. And I'm telling you, friends, man, it's just been a chaotic time. But we are back live, and we have a special guest outside of our man Chuck. Chuck, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. Glad to be able to be back.
Yeah, we haven't seen you in quite some time. Good to have you.
A lot going on here, or not going on here.
Oh, it's been terrible. I mean, just when it rains, it pours. One thing after another.
Yeah.
We have got a new phone system arrangement. So y'all on the phone line, please let us know if it's consistent, if it's better, if it's worse. We had to reroute the phone lines in this new escapade that we have accomplished for ourselves here. But anyway, keep us informed on the phone lines. Mm-hmm. Good to see you, Chuck.
How you too, man?
And we've got the man in Nashville, Tennessee with us this weekend, Brother Jackson. What do you know, bud?
Not much.
You're looking good.
Thanks.
He's about 5'11" now.
I'll say he looks about a foot taller since the last time I saw him.
Yeah, just a little bit taller.
5'11". I mean, I've got to look up at him now.
Yeah, my son, he's not even 12 yet, and he's probably about just a foot shorter than me. So we're going to be really small, but that's all right, though. You know, you're excited when your kids are whether they're doing better physically by growing taller, or, you know, you're always happy to watch them grow one way or another. So
right. Well, you know, it's kind of odd, though, to see them just spring up like that. But, you know, Jack, he's getting a little ornery.
They do that, especially when they get taller than you.
I know. He's got that look in his eye like, you know, I think I could take you.
Yeah.
I could.
That's funny.
And Sister Sherry said, good to hear your voice, Jack, so say hi to Sherry.
Hey.
Hey. Well, but, you know, experience outweighs youth.
Yeah, you know, it definitely does. I think so. They may think, oh, well, gosh, you know, I'm taller than you or I'm stronger than you. But, you know, when you've been around the block a couple times, a few more times, you do have a little bit of a leg up still, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think y'all know what y'all are talking about.
That's okay. That's to be expected, normal, so.
Well, you figure we hear something like that. But, you know, I've been teaching Jack the tricks, though.
Yeah.
So I need to be careful.
I can outsmart him now.
You better not show him all the tricks. You're going to be in trouble.
Well, I'm going to save a bunch of those, though, for when he gets older. So, but hey, okay, before we get fired up tonight, I've got a special message to all of our listeners. Chuck, I received phone calls, emails, people willing to give us money to get all of this stuff fixed. To all of our listeners, I mean, I was overwhelmed. I mean, at times I was brought to tears.
Wow.
I mean, that is how amazing that this has been as far as the outpouring of support. And I notice we do have a little bit of fringe of a static on the line, on the tail ends of our voices.
Bit, yeah.
But that's just because we have all these mics turned on in the studio.
And you said something about there's no where you can mute them.
Well, well, not on the screen like we once had,
right.
but I can manually, do it from there. But Chuck, the listeners have just been, you do this every week, and you get into a routine, and everybody gets, we have to work during the week and all that. But man, when people found out that this program went down, the outpouring was just, I'm speechless.
Right.
I really am. And so that just goes to show the degree of people that we have listening to this program, that when the chips are down, buddy, they all just link up and jump in.
That's cool.
And fortunately, I didn't have to accept any funds to get this correction taken place. I was able to do it piece by piece, and because I wanted to do it because of God,
Right.
And we give it for free. And even when I hit kind of hard knocks, and people were so willing to give, I'd rather them give to someone who really needed it.
Yeah.
Because like I did it piece by piece, we were able to get it done. So enough about that. I do want to say, since we are back live, I was supposed to say it 2 weeks ago, but I failed to do so because we weren't on the air. And we've got a dear, dear friend. He's a fellow ham operator, and he lives over in Bristol, Virginia, Brother Earl. He's a dedicated listener. He had a friend of his that he has known practically his whole life, that he said that he puts his life in this man's hands.
Wow.
His name was Tom Whitaker, and he passed away a few weeks ago. And Brother Earl was talking about what a grave loss that was. And I've never really lost anybody that close to me yet, friend-wise.
Right.
But I did lose Ellie, our dog.
Yeah.
And just that unity that you have, I can kind of see, where he's coming from. So prayers for Brother Earl and the Whitaker family, and we'll do all that. And prayers for Brother Jack. He's fixed to start his big summer, man. He's getting up there at the age where he's got friends that he has to have a driver's license now.
Yeah.
And you've already been out in the Jeep, hadn't you?
Yeah, it was fun.
I remember those days.
Yeah, that's very cool. I used to do. I used to have an old Reliant K car. One of those, those Dodge Reliant K cars. It had all the really cool, they call it. A lot of the people call it the Arc because it had the vinyl wood paneling down the side. They used to have on the old cars, but instead of being real wood, it was a vinyl. But I used to take that off road in California. We go in the desert. And we'd be going down the road, and we do like bumper surfing, and people hold on, stand on the bumper. It was like a station wagon, and they grab onto the roof rack, and I go flying around the corner and gun it and be sliding sideways and stuff. So yeah, I remember those days.
Well, we used to do that too. Are you familiar with like Wilson Pike Circle up there in Brentwood?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take you out there one day, Jack.
All right.
Let you see it. But right there, my mom used to work at an office complex right there. And if you go past her office go past the skating rink, past that car wash, and then you round that curve, and there's that set of railroad tracks. And this side of the tracks is at one height, and the other side of the tracks is about a 5-foot drop, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a Honda 78 Honda Accord.
Nice.
Little hatchback.
Yeah.
I was showing Jack a picture of it.
Yeah, we're looking at all his old cars he had, and
It's like a little
cool.
mini, almost like a little Mini Cooper kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah.
Yep.
So we had the bright idea to come the other direction from Franklin Road and then
up.
Yeah, jump those railroad tracks. Yeah. And my friend Tim was standing out on the railroad tracks because he wanted to see how high I get.
Oh, jeez.
Now, you know that area. As soon as you come over those tracks, you've got about a couple of 100 yards, and you got to make that hairpin turn or you're going to go right out on 65.
Right.
So I got up about 65, 70 mile an hour, buddy, and I hit those railroad tracks, and Tim was about Jackson's height.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim said I would have cleared him.
Wow.
That's how high I got. And when I land, look at Jack, he's like, taking notes.
We're going to have to try that one.
Taking notes. I guess I got about 6 feet of air.
Wow.
But when I landed, the Dukes of Hazzards, when they land, they just land and keep on going, right? Well, when I landed, I bounced back up in the air.
Oh, wow.
And then when I landed again, it bounced back up in the air again.
Oh, dang.
And I was trying to get it shut down for that curve because I was about to go out into 65.
Now, when you're bouncing, you can't do a whole lot of stopping.
And, of course, I was coming out of the seat, head hitting the ceiling.
Right.
And I'm just like,
oh, my God.
By the grace of God.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. He had a hold of me, man, and I made that curve.
Wow.
And I did it sideways and finally got it shut down and the car quit running. So, friends, bear with us. We're just trying to get caught up here. We're excited to be back on the line.
We're going on a rabbit trail, but it's a fun one.
We'll, I'm forgetting that my mom and dad is listening tonight. But anyway.
You're going to get some phone calls tonight, not the ones that make you cry, to be happy.
So, anyway, the car had quit running, right? So I get in there and I'm trying to start it, and she's turning over and turning, and finally it kicked off. And when it did, okay, we're getting the reports coming in. We're sounding good. All right, good. Thank you, people. It finally started, and of course, it smoked a little bit.
Oh,
but just sitting there idling, man, it was shaking so hard that, the rearview mirrors are like glued to the windshield.
Yeah.
It was vibrating so hard, it broke that mirror off of the windshield.
It probably busted your motor mounts.
That's exactly what it did.
That's what I was figuring probably happened.
And so I drove it back around, and I picked Tim up, and we got...
That motor's bouncing around.
Yeah. And so I said, something's wrong with my car. Let me take you home and head to the house in case it, tears up. You couldn't get over 45 mile an hour because it was just vibrating.
Torque.
Yeah, it was vibrating so bad that you get over 45 mile an hour, you couldn't even hold your hand on the steering wheel.
Wow.
And so naturally I got home and I told Dad I hit a pothole and it started shaking.
Don't tell anybody. Shh.
And Dad's like, okay, pothole. Huh?
That's what happened, huh?
How'd you break those motor mounts? Of course, it was an old car.
Yeah.
And at first, Dad was like, well, it is an old car. I guess it was a 78.
In the back of his mind, he's thinking, though, man, you'd have to hit pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
How fast were you going?
And I think, uh-oh. Mom said, you're too late. Your mother is listening. So, we're busted, Jack. I guess I'll be grounded from my pickup truck now.
In the doghouse tonight.
So, anyway, that was the big story. We ended up, Dad said the car wasn't worth buying new motor mounts. So we took some old tires and just cut squares out and drilled a hole through it and
bolted down,
and just made our own motor mounts. And I drove that car another year.
It didn't shake as bad.
Matter of fact, it actually rode better because the original motor mounts were wearing out anyway.
See, so there was a positive. It actually ended up being a good thing that you went boonian.
That's the gift that keeps on giving, right there.
That's funny.
All right, friends. Well, tonight the title of the program is titled Mystifying Stone. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are we titling tonight's show Mystifying Stone? That is a good question.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. Because we're going to get into the Mueller report. We're going to get into the crazy Democrats, the things that they have been spouting off about, laws that they've been trying to pass. We're going to talk about New Zealand. We got a lot of catching up to do. I'm going to go back a little ways, a week or two back, with some stuff I had prepared because, interestingly enough, it really plays out in today. And we're going to bring some folks on the phone line tonight. Now that we got this new phone system, we're going to try it out. So those on the phone line, we're going to bring your own.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so y'all be thinking of something you want to talk about, okay? Now, did you see the image of what it was? It was the sun shooting through the clouds, but it looked like an image of Christ in the sky, and the guy took a picture of it, and it's been floating around the internet, and it did. I mean, it looked like Christ coming in the clouds.
Wow.
But, I mean, it was the sun. There was nothing photoshopped. It was legit, but it looked strange. And so after that happened, then we have, of all places, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. Yeah. You know, that's... It is as if God threw a stone into a lake. This mystifying circular hole in the sky stuns everyone in the United Arab Emirates. The citizens, they were left baffled after a mysterious whirlpool hole suddenly appeared in the sky above the city of Al Ain last weekend. This was last weekend. And a large patch of clear sky emerged inside the otherwise heavy cloud near the border of Oman, as if somebody had punched a hole in the atmosphere. Now, astronomers and meteorologists post a short video clip of the hole on Twitter, adding that the rare and beautiful sight was referred to as a fall streak hole or a hole punch cloud. Now, it really did look like, there's images of it right here. I know our radio listeners aren't going to be able to see it, but do look it up. It does. It looks like you dropped a pebble in the water and then the ripples.
Yeah, that looks very interesting.
Right. And so, although this is not unheard of, we're seeing more and more of things like this in the sky, images of Christ. Mm-hmm. Let me share with you, every time this happens, we make a note of it and let the listeners know.
Yeah.
Every time there is a fire, a devastating, total demolition fire, there is always a Bible found untouched.
Yeah.
It don't even.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. It doesn't smell like smoke. It's not charred or burned. And this has happened again. And let's let you hear the gentleman actually describing it. It's just pretty fascinating to me. Let's add this with the image of Christ, with the circular deal in the clouds. And, okay, bear with me now. This is all new. We have everything in a different area. So here we go.
An Oklahoma father is counting his blessings after his pickup truck goes up in flames just a few feet away from his house, as you can see. No one, thankfully, was injured in the incident, and it happened just a few weeks before Christmas. The family finding a sign of hope, however, from the wreckage. The man's childhood Bible was left pretty much unscathed inside the truck. Joining us now is the truck's owner, Steve Gott. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us what happened. It was 2 weeks before Christmas, and you look out the window. How did you discover that your truck was on fire?
Well, actually, I was. We went out to the garage to put some gifts away, so that way the kids wouldn't know that we had bought them. And one of the kids came out to the garage and hollered that the truck was on fire and the horn was blown. So I came out of the garage, and it looked like the house was on fire. So, you know, I wasn't sure what was going on. I ran out there, and sure enough, the truck was on fire. So
what did you do? How'd you put the fire out?
Well, you know, at first, you know, we wasn't sure what to do. I went to go grab the fire extinguisher, but come to find out, my son had extinguished it 3 weeks before.
Oh, no.
So I had to call 911, and they came out pretty quick.
and they doused the whole truck with water. And Steve, what happens? What did you find? You found your Bible?
Well, at first, I didn't think there was nothing salvageable in the truck. I mean, I'm not sure if you got the videos or not, but it was just totally engulfed with flames.
Yeah.
And as they got the driver's side door open, I asked the fireman.
And you found your Bible. Let me see your Bible. Do you have it with you?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Look at that. Look at that. That's incredible. What a miracle.
And it doesn't even smell like smoke either.
Steve, I know you have a lot of kids.
Wow.
You have 5 children. This was your only transportation that you had. How can we help your family? What's your Facebook page?
Well,
we got to hurry, Steve. Sorry, we're running out of time.
At first, I didn't want any help, but,
We'd love to help you. How can we help you?
Just bring out the word.
All right. We'll put a link to your Facebook page on foxandfriends.com if folks at home want to help. Thank you. Okay. God bless you. Thanks for sharing your story.
So as we can see, friends, I mean, this happens all the time, but more and more we're seeing signs and wonders.
I think it's cool because, God speaks in a still small voice. So it's things like this, just little ways that God speaks to encourage people that he's still in control. It was interesting because my mom was sharing with me something that happened to me a few years back when I used to work at Trinity Broadcasting Network. I was, working the camera there in California. But it was interesting because God gave me like a vision, like in my mind of water that is pouring down. And it was basically a representation of him. And everything it would hit, it would purify instantly and would remain crystal clear, like nothing tainted it. It could hit oil, it could hit anything, the most wretched looking thing, and the water just stayed just as pure as before it ever even touched it. And it was so powerful to me, like I guess I just needed to hear that. And I shared it with my mom and everybody I'd share it with. It was like God obviously gives us stuff not just for us, but he does want to encourage us, and we are encouraged by it, that sometimes it's even more for other people. And I would share with people, and they would just go, wow. And I was sitting there thinking, is this really that? I mean, it is cool. I'm thinking, is this really where I need to just go around and tell people about it? I felt like God wanted me to, and I started sharing it with people. And my mom said that just stayed with her, how God's power, is how strong he is and how pure he is, that no matter how dark and wicked stuff is, he purifies it, and he himself remains completely untainted.
Amen.
So that's kind of like I guess going to tie that into the fact that he's in control, like he's so powerful and in control still. And he speaks through things like that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't speak through, dun, da, 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 that'll happen one day. But, yeah. When the clouds open up, the trumpets, but his stuff is more in the still small voice. So when you're looking for it and you're listening to it, you'll hear it and you'll see it. And that's cool that he, I don't know how that came about where he ended up on TV and stuff, but that's really cool that he able to share that. So,
well, that's interesting that you bring up water, because we got some interesting stories a little bit later on. Maybe that was the Holy Spirit. Yeah. I'm not going to say maybe it is. Right. We're back and we're strong. So
that's right.
Keep that in mind. Now, before we get into all that is breaking, I wanted to kind of set the stage here. We need to go to 2 Timothy chapter 4 real quick before we go to break. This will get our minds set to what we need to be focusing on. And Brother Robin shot us a message. We're coming in good and clear in Milford, Connecticut.
Cool.
All right.
Nice.
So
it sounds better here too in the headphones. So like you're saying, it does sound better. So
well, the interface that I was using was not designed to use it the way I was using it.
All right, gotcha.
And so the interface that I replaced it with is more of a interface for what we're doing with it.
Well, that may is a blessing in disguise, because God wanted to bring it up a notch.
Maybe
he can use even something bad like what happened to bring it up a notch. So
maybe he needed to say, you need to take a break. You need to change out that interface because I got some plans for you, buddy.
You need to sound better, man.
You're going to be needing it. But we see everything that we have been focused on, those that follow Q, it does now appear. I will say it. I told people earlier that if Q plays out to be credible, then I'll apologize. But Christ wants us to focus on that what is not seen versus that what is seen.
Right.
And so that was where I was focusing. I wanted to get people off of things that we can see on the internet, and let's focus on the Word of God and of Christ, especially during these trials. But
it's easy to get caught up in what's happening on this earth, and it's really important to follow it and to pay attention. That way you know what's going on.
Right.
And that way the Lord can use you. But really the end goal is not staying ahead and knowing what's going on and being able to tell people that. That's good, but it's really about the Lord and about eternity and about speaking truth, people getting saved. That's really the most important thing.
Amen.
So,
amen. But we do have now, tables are turning, Trump's going on the offense.
Right, I saw that.
And William Barr, old Bill Barr, man, it's on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the telltale sign, is if he is on our side or if he's still deep state. I don't know. So the Mueller report has come out, and it's all pointing to the real corruption, the Obama administration, Hillary, and the whole 9 yards, and now there is hell to pay.
Yeah.
Because of the crimes that are going to be exposed. And through Hannity, John Solomon, Sarah Carter, Trump's been letting all of this information gradually seep out so that the American people is not hit all at once. And this leads us to 2 Timothy chapter 4, because it says that in the presence of God and of Jesus Christ, who will judge the living and dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, I give you this charge: preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season,
That's right.
Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instructions. Now, the important phrase here I want to focus on is in season and out of season.
Right.
Because, friends, I believe we're coming up on the days where we're going to be out of season, meaning there's going to be a lot of anger, hatred, possible riots.
Yeah.
It's not going to look like a season, if you would, of a peaceful Christian Mayberry type of setting.
Right.
So we need to be in with Christ in season and out of season.
Yeah.
And I believe this out of season is on the horizon.
Well, I think, too, if you remember the fact that God wants us to lay our lives down. So when it's out of season, that's the perfect opportunity to do that, because that's when it's going to be the most unpleasant.
Right.
Because when you're in season, like you're in your element, I think of like in season as like thriving, everything's blooming. Like you see the most, I'd say the most potent part of plants. You see the oranges, not out here, but in California, oranges, apples, in the different parts of the world. And out here, you got, beautiful trees. I didn't know all the different trees out here. So, but my point is, you see plants, blooming and they look the most radiant, in the springtime and early summer. So that I would think that would be in season, out of season. All the leaves are coming off. It's almost like everything's kind of going to sleep. So that would be the hardest time to thrive, or to have to do the same thing you would in spring in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the Lord wanting us to rely on Him and to kind of almost be the same, whether you're in season or out of season. Having that same power. So That's kind of what I get out of that.
Well, and you're exactly right. And he goes on to say, for the time will come when men will not put up with sound doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, to suit their own desires, they gather around them the great number of teachers, say what their itching ears want to hear. Now, we know that we've been seeing that from the colleges, universities,
CNN.
Yeah, MSNBC. And so they're all gathering to themselves, these people.
Yeah.
But I think we need to take this a little bit further, that they will not listen to sound doctrine. Right. Now, I know this is speaking about the Word and of Christ and of all of that they're not going to listen to that. Mm-hmm. But now that we have got sound doctrine fixing to unravel with this Russian collusion and all of that, we must also be aware they're not going to listen to that either.
It's truth. Basically, they're not going to listen to truth.
Amen.
Sound doctrine is just what's true.
Amen. So instead, to suit their own desires, they're going to gather around them people that will tickle their itching ears.
They'll basically tell them what their minds have already decided to believe in.
Right. And so we've got to be prepared for that as well, because CNN and all that, they are going to go to their grave fighting tooth and nail to down Trump and downplay this information that's about to come out. Mm-hmm. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside from myths. But we are told, you keep your head in all situations, endure hardship, do the work of an evangelist, discharge all the duties of your ministry. Mm-hmm. So, when this happens, just like this crash that I had, I did get discouraged, but I did not get discouraged in my walk. Yeah. I got discouraged in technology. Okay? And
that's easy to do.
And I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from Satan. Yeah. And I rebuked him, and it took me a few weeks, but here we are.
That's right.
Stronger, rested, more powerful than ever.
Yep.
And this is what we need to understand. Because the very next verse says that, for I am already beginning to pour out like a drink offering, and at the time has come for my departure. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness. So we have to look at this as Christ is about ready to either pour out his Spirit as he has been, or the return of Jesus is just around the corner.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it could be tomorrow, it could be 100 years from now, but we have to keep our plow in the dirt. We have to keep focused and not get discouraged in these days.
Well, just think, too, about how fast this life really does go by.
A blink.
It really does,
I mean,
Yeah,
look at our kids.
I know.
It seemed like yesterday, Jackson was blowing bubbles and blah.
It's like, hey, wait a minute.
And now look at him.
Well, it's incredible because, I know that when you're younger, you're really looking forward to certain milestones. So your every day kind of seems like it takes a lot longer, And then when you hit those milestones, you're like, okay. And then you just get busy with life, with jobs, family, and, the days just kind of fly by. Because it's not that you're not looking forward to stuff still, even though that does happen to a lot of people. It seems like you're so busy that you don't really notice, what's going on from day to day, because it's a lot of the same stuff. And you're just, you have a different mindset in some ways. And I think in some ways better, in some ways possibly not. But I think it's so important to remember that this life goes by so quick. And if you think about it, here's eternity. And this time on earth is such a little blip in eternity. Because I think we were talking about, we see everything from a start to finish because we're born and then we die. Everything has, a beginning and an end here. But in heaven, it's so hard to imagine that things just keep going and going and going. And so if you think about it like that, wow, really this life is such a small drop in the bucket when you look at eternity and how important it is to do what God has called you to do, and how much happier it'll be when you go to heaven when you are able to accomplish what God wants you to.
Right.
So just having that perspective where you're looking at the bigger picture. God helps us to do that when we really tune into Him.
Yeah, He does. So, friends, we need to remember that, because some very serious things could be on the horizon. Now, when we come back, we're just going to bounce some ideas off your head. We're going to refer back to the Word of God, but all this is new to us right now, and so we're getting excited. What's Bar going to do?
Where's the ball going to roll with Bar?
And after our crash, friends, I was able to access my old hard drive, put it in the new computer, and use it as a spare drive, but I could still get into the old hard drive and pull everything out. So I'm excited.
Back better than ever, right?
Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Smokehouse. To talk to Smokehouse, dial 641-552-9354. That number once again, 641-552-9354. 888-552-9354 and enter access code 252380 followed by the pound sign. Call in and join the show.
SmokehouseStudios.net. God is among us. The door to the ark is slamming shut.
Here's what the Holy Spirit said. He said, I have many ministers, and they are speaking on my behalf. But he said, what's missing is the urgency of their voice. These mega churches are really cognizant not to offend people. And they're really careful when they get up and preach to people that everybody leaves out there feeling really good. Preachers refuse to preach on the coming of Jesus Christ. Where's the urgency? I have never seen America in the place where we are right now. If you think that all the persecution is going to remain in Iraq against the Christians, you better think again. It's already coming into this country right now. If we don't tell people what they need to hear, God's going to hold us accountable and their blood will be on our hands. Whenever we preach, we've got to preach with an urgency in our voice that we need to be right with God if anything should happen to us. There's things right now in motion that may change our nation almost overnight. And for me to stand here and act like everything's all right, I can't do that. The politicians in Washington can do that and lead you to believe that everything's going to be okay. But in the house of God, there's got to arise a siren that says, blast, 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 attention, attention, attention. Things are changing and they're changing quickly. We've got to have preachers in the pulpit that will say, watch out! Warning! Warning! Red light! Warning! People know something's going on in the Middle East. They know something's going on in Iraq, in Iran, in Damascus. They know about Iran. And people that's not even scripturally literate are trying to answer these things, and they're missing in a million miles. And God's saying to the preachers, get up and tell them. It's time to talk about what God's doing. People are seeking the Lord. People are seeking Christ. And if they don't find Him in the church, where are they going to find Him? I have a question. Where is the urgency?
Where is the urgency?
That's powerful.
It is powerful. It's something to really consider. 62 days into 2019, and already 600 dolphins have washed up dead, with many more dolphins dead at the bottom of the ocean, or have washed out to sea rather than ending up on the beaches. So while dolphins wash up on beaches in France, each year scientists say that the situation is alarming, with the figure being much higher than any previous year at the same period. So we're seeing an increase of these dying animals. Now, according to the local, those that are investigating this, the dolphins are washing up on the stretch of the Atlantic coast, running all the way from southern Brittany to the Spanish border, with large numbers of carcasses found in the departments of Vendée and in Chantas Maritimes. Most of the dead dolphins found bear injury marks, which researchers say are caused by big fishing boats and large fishing nets that are used. But among the carcasses found, 93% show signs that have been captured by fishing vessels and their equipment as well, or injuries possibly suffered. That's what they're alluding to, the best way that they could describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something going on in our oceans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, aside from that, we know what God told Hosea. Because there's no truth, there's no justice, there's no mercy, there's no knowledge of God in the land, lying, stealing, cheating, the committing of adultery. He's going to take the birds from the air, the beast from the land, and the fish from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that we know.
Yeah.
We can chalk this up to that. But it's happening all over the western coast. Crabs. Down in Florida, they have the red tide that's killing all of the sea life. So now the deer are coming down with this like mad cow disease or mad deer disease, or the wasting away of their brains. This is increasing even more in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being stated, the 2-week mark falls about right now. I was going to break with that story the night or the day that my computer just went, took a poo. But Putin's geologists over in Russia was warning that America is within 2 weeks of having a major earthquake. Now, a lot of people were speculating, could Putin be sending submarines over here to drop nukes in the floor of our ocean and set them off and cause an earthquake?
Yeah.
Or is he being
honest,
right. Because their geologists with their satellite tracking and all that were showing all these plate movements. I mean, we have had 3 earthquakes in a week at the Alabama-Tennessee line. Jack, did you feel any of those earthquakes the last couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Did you really?
A little bit.
Wow, I didn't know that. I should have called National. well, did you? Where were you when it happened?
I don't remember where I was, but I just remember it was shaking just a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that we have to find out from other countries about what's going on in our country.
Well, exactly.
Because so many people here obviously don't want any truth to get out. Like with the whole pharmaceutical stuff, we won't go into that because I know we're not talking about that. But
right.
You have to go to other countries and find out their research as they do on stuff to find out what's true. Because Big Pharma blocks all the information that comes out. But it's interesting. We have to find out from another country what could be happening in our country.
Exactly. So you have to ask yourself, man, is Putin on to something here?
Right.
But also now, this is quite interesting as to another reason the geologist came up with this theory. And Mary Greeley is going to explain why. And just keep that thought in the back of your head, because we've had the New Madrid has had a 3.4 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks since we've been off the air. The Cascadia plates rattled a little bit. California's had them.
Well, I know that when I go on Yahoo, when I'm on my phone, there's always that article about Yellowstone. Like almost every single time I go in there, I'm like, they're really hammering this. They keep putting that out there about Yellowstone. Yep. Scientists say Yellowstone could erupt any time. They keep putting that on there. I'm like, huh. We've been we know, obviously, we've covered some of the stuff with what's going on around Yellowstone and stuff with the animals. Wasn't it pretty close to Yellowstone where the animals were coming down out of the
Buffalo?
Mountains?
Yeah, they were leaving. Yeah, so, escaping.
Yeah, and when animals start moving around, then that something's coming pretty quick.
Yeah. So listen to another reason the Russian geologists have come up with this theory.
Now, I'm sure you've heard about the rare sea creatures that have been washing up on the shores of California and Brazil. Well, Putin scientists are predicting a mega U.S. earthquake within 2 weeks. In a new report prepared for Prime Minister Putin by the Institute of Physics of the Earth warned that America in the next 2 weeks is in danger of catastrophic proportions earthquake, focusing on the U.S., Mexico, Central and South America, and the region along the west coast of the New Madrid Zone fault. Scientists have urged government officials to prepare for a terrifying and unprecedented magnitude 9 earthquake that would unleash a deadly tsunami with 30-meter high waves. I guess the one they had in 2011 in Japan was 20 meters high. The Cascadia subduction zone is a region where 2 tectonic plates are colliding. The Juan de Fuca, a small oceanic plate, is being driven under the North American plate, atop which the continental U.S. sits. Subduction systems, where one tectonic plate slides over another, are capable of producing the world's largest known earthquakes. A prime example is the 2011 Tohoku earthquake that rocked Japan. Japan evidently is getting ready for a magnitude 9 because of the ominous sighting of the rare oarfish there. Cascadia is seismically very quiet compared to other subduction zones. That is so true. But it is not completely inactive. Research indicates a fault rupture in a magnitude 9 event in 1700. That was up by Oregon, Washington.
So as we can see, they're focusing on one reason being because of these dead animals. Now, Chuck, the Bible says that the seas and the waves will roar, right? There's going to be earthquakes in various places, and the seas and the waves are roaring.
Yeah.
Okay, did you see the flood that Nebraska has been having, or had?
I think my mom was starting to talk about that, about the flooding and stuff, so that's probably what she was talking about.
Right, and the dam broke, and it just wiped out all kinds of stuff. Wow. Well, that being stated, we had the flood here, and it wasn't as bad as 2010.
Yeah.
But
the barges couldn't get through with sand for our concrete, so they were talking about them having to come really far away to bring sand up. So.
Well, and let me tell you what, you know where I work, right along the river. Man, they were sending every dump truck in Nashville down to that Smyrna Ready Mix right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were hundreds of them lined up.
That's what they were saying. See, I'm out in Dixon, so I didn't see a lot, but they were telling us. All the dump truck drivers were talking about how they were like stressed because, all these jobs are still coming in, and we're like we're going to run out of sand.
Yeah.
Because the barges couldn't get up because the river being so much higher. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. You don't think about it. I guess they dredged the bottom of they pull the sand up out of the river there.
Mm-hmm.
So when it gets up so high, they can't get down to the sand.
Yeah.
Right. And plus, coming underneath the bridge with all that sand on there, they can't get underneath the bridges because the water's higher.
Right.
I didn't think about that. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess. Because I always kind of wondered where the sand came from.
Right.
So,
well, apparently they were able to get it to that area.
Right.
And I would come in, Chuck, and if there wasn't 100 dump trucks, and I mean they were parked on the shoulder, and there's not much room if you have a dump truck parked on the shoulder.
Especially down there, yeah.
And they were lined down Visco just every direction.
Yeah.
And back around to Pump House Road, and I mean just hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And you had to go around. It was just, and of course.
Well, think about it. That was like the main place that provides sand is right there on the river. So, I mean, we have probably 8 or 10 different locations, and then I know Smyrna's got I think quite a few more because they're like I think they're it's either them or IMI that's the biggest right now in this area. I think it might be Smyrna.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean we're a smaller outfit compared to these guys, and we've got a lot of trucks. We got what I would say like 6 or 8 different locations, and we have 2 or 3 dump trucks running per location. Just ours alone was at 30, 40 trucks. So and then you got these different other ones that are even bigger than we are. So yeah, they're probably like you said at least 100 or 200 trucks.
Well, I'm telling you, I mean, just as we progress, we're seeing the floods and everything else, increasing with frequencies, and the seas and the waves roaring. You know, Sister Jamie over there in England, lives over there in Southampton, 2 and 3 weekends in a row with these massive storms.
Yeah.
80 to 100 mile an hour straight winds, the seas and the waves coming over onto the shore.
Yeah.
And Jack and I today, we went down to where I put in on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that the river got so high. Jack, tell them how high the river got.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was so high that Dad was telling me it took away the trailer that was sitting there, that the people who own the property would keep their computers and stuff to where everybody who rents from there to put in their boat, they keep all that floated away, and I saw on the fence how high it got, and it was insane.
I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah, I remember I kept getting the notifications from the National Weather. You know, they would do the alert of the rivers being flooded, and it's so-and-so, it starts overflowing, and da-da-da. I was just like, wow. And I kept getting them thinking, man, it's not even raining anymore. But because of all that water, they're having to release the water from the different places they, kind of hold it up so it doesn't all of a sudden go. But there was so much pent up that they're releasing it. It kept bringing the river up to that flood stage even after the rain was already gone.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And so we're seeing an increase in the floods now. We're going to get to an article here where it talks about these poles that are shifting that's causing all of this. You know, a lot of people say it's Nibiru and
global warming,
but we know it's the return of Jesus because this is what he told us to be.
Right.
And I bring this up for this very reason. As we speak right now, there is a Norwegian cruise ship. Helicopters have to rescue Norway cruise ship passengers amid a storm. They are out in a massive storm right now off of, Norway's western coast. They rushed out to evacuate 1,300 passengers right now. This is happening right now.
Wow.
And crew from a disabled cruise ship by helicopter, winching them one by one to safety, and heavy waves are tossing the ship from side to side. There has been countless injuries because of how violent the waves and all of this.
So that'd have to be pretty bad because these ships I think can put up with quite a bit because of how big they are. So the fact that it's battering it like that, it's got to be pretty intense.
Right. Well, it says that the majority of the cruise ship passengers were reportedly British and American tourists, and about 180 have been evacuated, according to the officials. Now, there's video and photos from people on the ship showed it heaving from side to side, chairs going everywhere. Wow. But this is happening right now. And so this is a continual thing of as we're seeing the seas and the waves roaring. And so we need to be in prayer for these people.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, man, it's really getting intense out there as far as the earthquakes and the seas and the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting times that we are living in. Now, with that being stated, let me share with you a clip. Now, I didn't mean to jump away from the Russian earthquake, but with what Russia told us of these earthquakes, we're seeing the seas and the waves tossing about even more. The floods we've seen here in Nebraska, other places are flooding right now as well.
I think it's interesting because all these different things that are happening affect everything else, like whether it's a earthquake or whether it's volcanic activity happening and warming up and going into the ocean and causing stuff to happen. And it's like kind of like our body. When something happens in our body, it just does things that you would never imagine throughout. Yeah, because your body works together, so intimately, like one thing's attached to the other one that when like the earth is it seems like it's kind of set up the same way when stuff, whether it's outside of the earth, like from the sun or, the magnetic, because there's so much magnet and how everything's positively charged and negatively charged. Anytime stuff like that happens, it's going to affect everything else. So almost like when you say that you look into Revelations and it starts describing the different things that are going to happen, you could actually look at it from a physical perspective and go, wow. Like we were saying, we were kind of talking about how, the different things that are happening on the earth with volcanic stuff, how that could cause something like that talks about in Revelations from happening. It's like, wow, you actually start to see that. Wow, that's actually really, I could understand how that could happen, in that situation. So I don't know. It just, to me, it kind of opens up the scriptures to where you can go, wow, I can really see that happening with what's going on right now. I could see how that could lead to something that the Bible talks about in Revelations, how that could happen. So it's pretty exciting. It's kind of a little scary just because because you know how bad it says it's going to get. But at the same time, who's still in control. And as Christians, we can have that, that comfort and that encouragement because we know as things get crazier and crazier, our hope is not in this earth. So our hope isn't shaken. Our hope is in God, who's still in control of the earth. Even while it's shaking, he's still in control. So,
Well, Earth's magnetic poles have officially moved. And they have drifted so fast that authorities have had to officially redefine the location of the magnetic north. The extreme wandering of the North Pole caused increased concerns of our navigation, especially in high altitudes.
Oh, wow.
And
that would.
Yeah. And Earth's magnetic field is known to have wandered and flipped in the geologic past Earth's magnetic field is a result of spinning molten iron and nickel 1,800 miles below the surface. There we go back to the Yellowstone.
Right.
They're keeping Yellowstone in the news.
Yeah.
And so then now they are saying the new location of Earth's magnetic North Pole. On Monday, the World Magnetic Pole Model updated their official location of the magnetic north, and the model is typically updated every 5 years and was last updated in 2015. However, the recent rapid movement of the magnetic north prompted scientists to update the model early. So in the recent past, the magnetic North Pole has moved 34 miles a year toward Russia.
Oh, wow.
And just a half century ago, the magnetic north was wandering about 7 miles each year.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's a
really big difference.
4 to 5 times difference.
Well, you know what makes me think too, and I just like this stuff. Just watching this stuff, I'm getting more interested in the whole magnetic pole type stuff. I need to really look into that because it's really interesting to me. I think it's amazing that, and it's kind of concerning too, that anybody else who's following this stuff that has any knowledge on geological type stuff, I think it's as far as like people who don't like us, in the world, the bad actors, they're aware, a lot of them, of this stuff, and I can't help but think when this stuff starts going down, they're kind of waiting for it to go down, so that way when people are going, oh my gosh, that's like the perfect time, kind of like doing a false flag or like a drill. They say that a lot of times that's when the bad stuff actually happens, is when they're doing a drill, because people aren't really expecting it, because they're going, oh, well, is it a drill? No, it's not a drill. It is a drill, but it's become something else. So I think that in looking at the stuff that could possibly be coming, if what they're saying is true as far as the earthquake and stuff, it really, to me, imagining what could happen, even like a worst case scenario kind of thing, as a Christian, you don't look at it like a doom and a gloom, fear mongering. You look at it like, wow, if this does happen, we'll be in prayer, like seeing this stuff come upon the earth, to be in prayer for people that, as the Bible says, their hearts will fail them because of fear. Right. When they see stuff happening, to be praying ahead of time before, if something does like this happen, even whether it's 2 weeks or whether it's 2 months or 2 years, things are kind of ramping up because we've been following it. So we kind of know things either way. I don't think it's going to be that long, like 2 years, but I could be wrong, obviously. But watching how the severity of it's kind of not ratcheting up, I can't help but think that something's going to happen some kind of soon.
Well, that's kind of setting the stage for that.
Yeah.
That, we're seeing so much big things happen that are the shock value's gone now. So
right.
when the bigger things happen, we're not really, oh, well, that's just another day.
Yeah.
And now we see how quickly the poles have shifted in the things.
That's really interesting to me.
Sister Cheryl, not to change the subject, but she was wanting to know if when you were at TBN, if you knew or met Hal Lindsey.
Yeah, I did. I was actually one of his camera. I mean, there was one of the shows I did, a lot of the shows. But yeah, he's a really good guy. I got to know his bodyguard too. He was an ex-military guy, and obviously fully armed and stuff all the time. But he'd come in there, and yeah, he's a really cool guy. I really like Hal a lot. He's that is who he is. Like, I won't name any names, but working at TBN, there were a few people that came in to do shows that, they're not who they appear to be.
Yeah.
But Hal is definitely. It was definitely a legitimate guy. He was very knowledgeable on prophetics. Anybody who watches the shows knows that. But yeah, I got to know him pretty well.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go.
International Intelligence Briefing, IIB. I think it's IIB.
Yeah. Well, before we go to break, when we come back from break, we're going to dive into all of the corruption. And we're going to bring...
Looking forward to it.
We're going to bring people on the line from the phone and get their opinion, get their take, so y'all get ready. But Brother Robin sent something that's very interesting, especially the days that we find ourselves in right now. This was to be President Kennedy's speech on the day that he was assassinated. And it says, neither the fanatics nor the faint-hearted are needed, and our duty as a party is not to our party alone, but to the nation and indeed to all mankind. Our duty is not merely the preservation of power, but the preservation of peace and happiness. So let us not be petty when our cause is so great. Let us not quarrel amongst ourselves when our nation's future is at stake. Let us stand together with renewed confidence in our course, or in our cause, united in our heritage of the past and our hopes for the future, and determined that this land we love shall lead all mankind into new frontiers of peace and abundance. So these words were destined to never be heard.
Wow.
And yet, as we see this tangled web becoming untangled, right now, this very weekend, I mean, look, we're back on the air the weekend, the report drops, right? New and improved. And
I think it's interesting that, you know, the devil, even though I know that people say stuff, especially in politics, to be positive, kind of give it, and that makes a difference on the economy and stocks. And, you know, when people, especially the president, gets up there and says stuff, it's got such a strong impact on what happens, you know, especially within our economic thing. So, but I also know it's so important when you're speaking stuff, regardless of, you know, the intent of the person's heart who's speaking it. When, I mean, you hope it's authentic, but even when they're saying something that's positive, I think even from ulterior motives, there's still some power in when you say something positive for it to have a positive, like you could
the
be
power
somebody who
of
doesn't
life
know
and
God,
death
right?
is in the tongue.
Well, exactly what I'm saying. Like, along with that, when you say biblical things from a biblical perspective, it has power regardless of whether you really believe in it or not, because it has power in itself because it's God's word. So when you speak something positive and you're like casting a vision for what you see, like speaking it into existence, like Trump will get up there and he'll say, yeah, you know, America's great, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he'll rattle off on, like, you know, how we have such an incredible thing in our country where, you know, we've got such an incredible system set up where people can earn money and they can get ahead, you know, capitalism. They hate that word. I know the liberals hate that word. You know, they have the capitalists, you know, capitalism where you can get ahead and work harder and make money. But when you kind of project the positive, you know, what Trump really does a lot for that when he's talking about our country, how much he loves our country, and which is diametrically opposed to our past president that would constantly trash our country and point out all the negatives and bads. And, you know, and just like with any country, you've got good and bad, and you can choose to focus on bad or good. Now, you should talk about bad so that way you can hopefully work to make it better. But when you concentrate on the negative, that's all you talk about, you're casting a negative vision for your country, and it trashes the country. Like, you have to, like, when you pray over your family, you're speaking a positive, like, this is the direction we're going, this is where we want to go. So that's why it's so important for our leaders to be speaking stuff like that. But it's amazed how when you cast that, you know, vision, how important that is. So
it is.
I kind of went on a little bit of a rant, but I think it's important to do that.
You make a lot of sense, because as we dive into what could possibly be coming in the future, what exactly is our attitude? We were told to be ready in season and out of season.
That's right.
And what you speak is truth. The positive attitude, the positive outlook, you know.
That's a part of being in season, I guess.
That's right.
You're ready in season.
And God said that He created the government for the evildoers, not for those who do good.
Right.
And so we're about to see justice be handed out, and this is a time to be positive.
Right.
Speak positively,
because we know who wins.
That's right.
So it's not like you're trying to make something out of nothing. You know what's going on. So
right. Okay, friends, stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this.
Smokehouse. To talk to Smokehouse, dial 641-552-9354. That number once again, 641-552-9354. And enter access code 252380, followed by the pound sign. Call in and join the show.
SmokehouseStudios.net. God is among us. The door to the ark is slamming shut.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war. But there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better rev than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material complications. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
That's powerful.
Very powerful.
I love to hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like fires up the Braveheart in you. You know, when you hear stuff like that, it's like you got to hear that battle cry kind of.
Right.
You know, I love to hear stuff like that.
Fires it up. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think God has been preparing us for many years for this day.
Yeah. Okay. We were going over, the pastor was talking about the book of Ruth.
Uh-huh.
You know, and how, you know, for God may have raised you up for such a time as this. Like,
right.
You know, how do you know? Like, this is such a powerful time, you know, and if you don't stand, you know, look what could happen.
Right.
God might have brought you up just for this point. Like, this is like the crowning moment of your life. Like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Yep. And just like with Purim, you know, Purim just ended a few days ago, Israel's Purim this year. And that was Esther. You know, she was raised for such a time as this. And we are raised for such a time as this.
Yep.
And the American people have spoken. You know, we have been pushed around to the point to where, okay, it's time to do something. And that's why Trump got elected, because peaceful transitions, to change what has been going on for so long that everyone knew about, that Reagan talked about.
Yeah.
You know? Now, I talked about one of my last shows, Chuck, about Israel being judged because of the sins of their fathers.
Right.
Meaning, you know, their fathers had done these things, but it was the children that were brought up not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Not stopping what the fathers had done that was abominable. And there's nothing new under the sun. So we are being judged for the sins of our fathers, because our fathers' generation, They took prayer out of school. They made abortion illegal. And we, being the children, we did nothing about it.
Yeah.
And now, look, they're slaughtering children right at birth now, hooking them up to machines and selling their organs, and nothing's being done about it.
Right.
Okay? We've got, so we can see the increase of how God would be wanting to judge us.
Yep.
Also in Jeremiah, I believe it's Jeremiah 27, 26, 27, one of those, in verse 4, I know the verse.
I'm one of those people that feel like if you know the verse, you can say it even if you don't know exactly where it's at. I'm sure God doesn't mind.
But the verse is that God is going to turn their weapons of war against them.
Right.
That is going to be one of the signs of his judgment.
Yeah.
Okay, I've talked about that before, but I really didn't see the whole picture of it until I heard Benjamin Fairclough preach a sermon on it. And he gave examples as to, when I talked about it on that one program, it was like basically their weapons of war be turned against them. If Israel attacks with bows and spears, well, then those bows and spears will be turned against them. But Fairclough, man, he opened it up to something even broader and said the weapons of our warfare are being turned against us right now. What's one of our major weapons? Warriors, the children.
Yeah.
Our children are our warriors. They have now been turned against us. The government institutions are training up these children to rebel, to go against God's will, the transgenderism and all of that.
Yeah.
The government is training these children. The Bible says they're our warriors, and now the children, our warfare has been turned against us.
Yeah. What does it? Jesus talk about that? How in the last days that people are going to betray, the children are going to betray their parents and kill them, and that's exactly what it talks about.
And that's where we find ourselves. Another example he gave was the internet. Okay, the internet, when it first came onto the scene, the leaders and the disciples back in those days, they didn't have jet airplanes. They didn't have all of the luxuries that we have today, but yet that small group with sandals and feet changed the world.
Yeah.
So we're given the internet. Okay, that is a weapon for our warfare, and now look at what's happening. That weapon is now being turned against us because of the censorship.
Yeah, well, think about it, too. The fact that back then, in order to be somebody who speaks and people listen to you, you had to kind of prove yourself. You know what I mean? Either you had to have gone through some training under a certain person, or you could get up there and say stuff, but people might just laugh at you and just keep going, especially since, I imagine they had some type of, thing to speak into that would kind of project their voice a little bit, but there wasn't like we have now where we have TVs. Now any, bozo can jump up there and say whatever and have a massive audience to say whatever he wants to and convince people of stuff. So really, in some ways, it's interesting to see the difference from back then to now, how there's so much more information out there, and anybody can get out there on these, on the internet and have millions of people follow them and just be totally just off the wall, not even not logical. They just have to convince people, have to be very persuasive.
Well, that's another example how that weapon of warfare has been turned against us with the censorship.
Yeah.
And like you said, now you've got these false teachers and all that Christ said would come in the last days.
Right.
That warfare, that weapon has been used against us now. It's being turned against us. And you can just look at example after example how the weapons of our warfare that we have at our disposal now, and you can call it Democrat or progressive liberalism, but it's the same spirit. It's the Nazi satanic Moloch that is using all these weapons against us.
Right.
And are we recognizing that as what the Bible says that it is?
Yeah.
Is God's judgment.
Yeah. I think that's why you got to kind of keep bringing it back to the Bible. Because, again, people don't like to talk about the Bible. They don't like to talk about the Lord, about Satan. They don't even talk about the devil or blah, blah, blah. They really don't.
Right.
They'll say what you're doing is wrong and it's evil and it's, racist. They'll have all these terms now, but they never acknowledge the spiritual very, very rarely do they ever acknowledge a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they're trying to paint you as a bad person, they might go there for to kind of get people to not like you and like, oh, well, that's really bad. You're going to the spiritual. That's it. That's the only time they do that, is when they're trying to demonize you. Oh, they said demon. The only time they say that is when they're trying to make you look bad. They don't care about pointing the truth or not. They just, oh, that word will work to make this person look really bad because, oh, demons. Oh, yeah, everybody knows demons are bad. So it's kind of interesting how it's sad, but it's also why it's so important. I kind of digress. I come back to, I do that a lot, and I'll try to come back and stay on task. You have to bear with my ADD here. My mind kind of bounces around, but that's the whole idea of, that's why we need to bring it back to, it's God, because even if they don't want to listen to us, when you start talking about God, they go, oh, God, okay, you're one of those religious nuts. It's like in the past, we don't talk about God anymore. It's not relevant. Why are you doing that? We're talking about humans here. We're not talking about, Bible stuff. Why, we're not church. It's crazy how when you try to talk to people about what's right and what's wrong, they don't want to talk about Bible stuff.
Right, exactly.
And biblical stuff.
Well, not to change the subject, Chuck, but I just got this information, Sister Sherry. Okay, we were just talking about Russia's warning being 2 weeks ago, okay, of a possible earthquake, major earthquake that would hit America.
Right.
And, man, wow, this just happened. And we're going to get into this.
That's a pretty good size one, a 6.1.
Yeah, 6.1 earthquake strikes Western Colombia. We're gonna hear what this fella has to say here real quick.
6.1 earthquake strikes Western Colombia. They say it was 113 kilometers depth. That's 70 miles deep. Wow. Now, when it's really deep like that, it ain't a strong 6.1, but residents have felt the shake. A lot of people have panicked and ran out the mall. Multiple stores' shelves was completely on the floor. There wasn't no casualty or no death, but this is a 6.1. It is a strong one. But according to the 113 kilometers depth, that wasn't basically a big one. But I do want to talk about the Ring of Fire. I want everybody to keep their eyes on the Ring of Fire, because that's where all the activity is happening when it comes to massive earthquakes and volcano eruption, like the one in Krakatoa, causing a massive tsunami in Indonesia, killing a lot of people. Also, Fiji is getting like at least 7.0 and up. And that's strong earthquakes, depending how deep it is. But Fiji is seeing a lot of catastrophic events, massive earthquakes. But also Alaska is getting their part. Ecuador is getting their part. Chile is getting their part. Colombia is getting their part. And here in the United States of America, believe it or not, it's happening here too. And whenever it happens in Yellowstone, USGS is not going to warn the people that there was a 3.2 earthquake in Yellowstone, because that is the big one of all.
People panic.
Oh, yeah.
So USGS is not going to scare people or warn people, hey, there was an earthquake in the Yellowstone chamber where the magma is at. I mean, they're not going to say that because a lot of people is going to panic. But believe it or not, it's happening in Yellowstone. People need to keep their eyes open and do their research. But at the same time, you must open the scriptures up, because everything is written in the Bible when it comes to massive earthquake.
Yeah, and it is. So this is a pretty lengthy clip here.
So that's one of the reasons why Yahoo keeps running that article, because they're kind of putting it out there, just kind of like not subliminally, but just kind of keeping it on the down low, but just kind of putting it out there.
Well, and like he was saying, this is the Ring of Fire, man. That's very active. So if we have that tectonic plate shift down there, like he was saying later in the video, there's going to be probably a major one to hit California.
I was thinking of Johnny Cash, A Ring of Fire.
You ever heard that song, Jack?
And it burns, burns.
I guess he has. Oh, okay. So earthquake down in Colombia, man, 6.1.
Wow. He was saying that they've been happening in Yellowstone too, 3.1 or whatever,
and they're not reporting
in Alaska. And so, that's when that fault, and it goes right through up into Alaska. They're all pretty much connected.
Oh yeah.
And so when they start happening, it goes right up there, and all the volcanoes, they all start becoming active and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so the Mueller report. Big on the news. What do you think it's going to say, Chuck?
I think they're going to be very disappointed. The MSM are going to be like, I'm sure they'll spin it somehow or deflect to something else. They're masters at that. But I'm kind of looking forward to hearing what it says, because I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be a nothing burger.
Well, okay. We've been hearing talk from the Q and all of that Mueller this whole time has been working with Trump.
Right.
They have just been keeping the focus on Trump to keep the Dems at bay, while Mueller actually investigates the happenings beneath the surface of the true collusion.
Right.
And so theory is that this report is going to lay all that out. Like the Dems are going to be totally just like, because what are they out there saying now? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they're all like, this report needs no redaction. It needs to be shown to the American people in its full state, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if it implicates all of them? Then what are they going to do? Oh! You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, there's a lady, area code 941, get ready, because there's a lady here I want to hear from on this issue. And because, man, she brings up things that just fascinates me, man. I think, I didn't look at it that way. So, nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and bring her on the line. Area code 941. You're on the Front Porch Show. How are you doing?
You're not talking to me, are you?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. How are you doing?
No, I think this is going to lead to a very soft disclosure, so I'm really excited about it. I think there's going to be a lot of information in that report that is going to stun people.
Yeah.
And I think Trump all along has been slowly releasing things for a soft disclosure. Then when we get the D class, that's going to be awesome. And then when that happens, then we're going to have a reset in our finances, which I'm really looking forward to. So I think a lot of things are going to happen between now and the end of the summer.
Yeah, I think it is too. Now, real quick, how has the phone system been holding up on this new setup?
Awesome. It's excellent.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. All right. Okay, so what's your opinion on Mueller's role here? Do you think Mueller has been working with Trump this whole time, or what?
Yep, I think he's been a double agent. I think he was co-opted early on to go to work for Trump. Absolutely.
I believe he was too. Now, I know this is just a show, actually, of what we're seeing here with the Mueller investigation, and so do you think that once Barr reads over this, he's going to release it, and it is going to implicate all of those crooked politicians?
He's basically going to have to. I think there's going to be a hue and a cry from the public that we demand it be declassed now. We've had enough of the nonsense. We want to know the truth.
Yeah, that's my theory too, because you keep hearing Hannity and now John Solomon and Sarah Carter, they both, I know last night Hannity had them on, and I think he had them on with Alan Dershowitz as well.
Right.
I may have my programs, but anyway, basically Hannity was asking the question that even if it comes out there's no collusion, and we do have raw evidence on all of the Obama administration being as crooked as they have, that's been coming out as well, he said, what if there is no justice brought against those who have done wrong? And John Solomon cut him off and said, no, there is going to be justice brought against these people. Mark my word.
There absolutely has to be. There has to be. This evil is so profound and so pervasive that people have to see that, yes, indeed, they are going to pay. And I hate to sound like a bloodthirsty little monger, but we do. We want to see hangings. We want to see public executions. I don't think they're going to let us do that, but we do want to know these people have indeed been punished. The thing I wanted to bring up, though, is that, God commands us to expose evil.
Right.
And we need to expose it.
Right.
And, yeah, we also need to be very positive and upbeat. I'm thrilled about what is happening. I can see a lot of really good stuff ahead. Yeah, we're in for some dangerous, trying times, but you wear the shield, the armor of God, and you're going to be okay. You're going to walk through this.
That's right.
But I'm seeing a lot of real positives coming out of this. But what I wanted to ask people to do, they don't understand Pizzagate. They don't understand it. They hear little snippets and dribbles, and I myself was one of those people. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not, but I found it today, and so I wanted to let people know about it. I can't share it. I was going to share it and send it to you. So the only way I could get it is you go onto YouTube and you look up the group called the Black Banners of the East Satellite Station. It's called the Black Banners of the East, and they have done a 4-part series on Pizzagate. They're about an hour long each. I only listened to the first one today. I did not look at it because you can't unsee something you've seen. And just listening to it, I wanted to throw up, and I was crying for what these people have been doing to children.
Well,
and we need to know about it, and the public needs to know about it, because if you don't, you're going to always deny it. You're going to say, no, we don't need this kind of punishment. No, what are we doing? We're going crazy. No, they need to be exposed. We do need to handle it. It has to stop now. And it goes into the trafficking and all the things you've always talked about.
I know I've heard some of the stuff. They talk about how, a lot of the royalty in other countries and stuff from, I don't know, way back have done crazy things like drinking the blood of babies and all these crazy stuff. Yeah. Go ahead.
The exciting thing about this, all of this has been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yep.
And now it's finally percolating to the top, to our consciousness, that we're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have an opportunity to deal with it, to actually get rid of this.
Yep.
And prayers are, you need to cover yourself at all times.
Yep.
Pray before you view this stuff.
Yep.
Pray after you view it.
Yep.
You want to make sure that none of these entities are attached to you in any way.
Yep.
And they can do it. They can do it through television. They can do it through multiple. And I know this sounds freaky, but it's the truth.
Yep.
Satan is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to cover ourselves at all times. But, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about what's coming out. I was excited to see that drop on Friday at 5 o'clock. I thought it was hysterical. Perfect timing. It was like, yes, this is awesome. And so, yeah, I can't wait for Monday to find out what's going on.
Yeah. I think too, with all the stuff that happened with Hillary's emails and with when they were grilling Comey and after they laid it all out, so she did this, and you're choosing not to go after her, basically, pursue charges, or I don't know exactly how they put it. Basically, you're kind of letting her off the hook then. And he's like, yeah,
yes,
well, pretty much. She didn't.
You're reading what I'm reading. I'm seeing all these tweets coming out. I'm seeing all these people saying they have it all.
Yeah.
They have everything on you.
Yeah.
The NSA has been collecting data. They have it all.
Yeah.
It's time for you to come forward, confess your sins,
yeah.
be forgiven. So they're putting this out there, and I'm loving it, because they're giving them an opportunity to say, yes, I was a part of it. I'm contrite. This is what they had over me. They were going to kill my family. I didn't have an option. But we need to know that. They need to come out now. It's time. Because if you don't, if you wait, it's not going to be good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that, how, when they get people in there, I try to imagine what it would be like once you get into Congress or, into the Senate, and you get in there around all these godless people, and you kind of get into that whole team of, if you don't do this, then, if you don't mess around with kids, because that's kind of what these people do, then they kind of just block you out, or they try to get you to do it so that way they can, if you are morally, just that weak where you go and do stuff like that, then they can use that against you because that's your weakness. And then if that's not your weakness,
you've been drugged beforehand, and you've been drugged, and you've been set up,
right?
They've taken of you for blackmailing you.
Yep.
There's no way you have out of it. So then you don't what kind of moral courage do you have?
Yep.
Are you going to put your family in jeopardy? I mean, you're stuck.
Right.
It's a tough situation. I call it the becoming. I watch it happen here locally. Everyone needs to pay attention to their city commissioners. They're county commissioners. Just pay attention to the way they talk before they're elected and after they become, after they elect.
Yep.
They're all corrupted very early on.
Yep. And it's like you said, if they're not corrupted, then they're threatened. Like you said, they either threaten their family. Right. Okay, you won't play ball? Okay, well, we'll go after your family. You know, it's just, and I think about that. I think the Lord kind of shows me that because I don't know enough people and stuff to know this stuff. I feel like the Lord says, this is what it's like right now. If you're not morally strong, like if you don't have a good, just maturity, even just by yourself, because a lot of these people are so busy in the political that they probably don't have time to go to church. You know what I mean? Because they're so busy doing this stuff that if you're not solid yourself without going to church and being underneath the pastor, if you're not solid, I mean, you're going to be totally corrupted by this. You know, you're going to cave when they start threatening you. You have to have such strong commitment to the truth that even if they come at you with, we're going to threaten your family, you're like, well, I'm standing for the truth anyway. I'll pray over my family for protection. But, you kind of have to give it all or nothing. When you go into it, it's not just about getting elected. You have to be so solid when you get elected.
Let me interject this. I think this right here says it all. Let's take a listen to this clip right here. This is from the Democrats, okay? Check this out.
One nation under Democrat demolition. Did you know they have removed God? The majority party in the House of Representatives has deleted God from as many official congressional proceedings as possible, including swearing in witnesses.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief? Thank you. Let the record show the witnesses.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
I think we left out the phrase, "so help me God."
We did.
Could we have the witnesses do it again for the record?
No. Yeah, if they want to do it, but some of them don't want to do it. And I don't think it's necessary, and I don't like to exert my will over other people.
Well, it goes back to our founding history. It's been part of our tradition for more than 2 centuries, and I don't know that we should abandon it now. Could I ask the witnesses if they would choose to use the phrase?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nadler.
If any witness objects, he should not be asked to identify himself. We do not have religious tests for office or for anything else, and we should let it go with that.
That is the face of resident evil, Jerry Nadler. Get used to it. It will be Nadler who leads the effort to impeach President Trump. So God is gone now. Poof, no more God in the people's house. This is not about a religious test. This is about the founding of this republic. We are a country built on a core belief in God and Judeo-Christian values. Thus, the Declaration of Independence is now under de facto assault by this crew. One nation under God, divisible by a radical political party that seeks to attack liberty and justice for all.
So the reason I wanted to bring this up is the fact that back in 2012 in the Democrat National Convention, when they put God and Israel to a vote whether or not to have it on the Democrat platform, and they booed God and Israel 3 times. But they ended up allowing it to happen. And now just blatantly, just over the last couple of weeks, now they're just totally striking God out. So, Sherry, let me ask you this. I know, you kind of started out with saying, when is America going to have enough and demand justice? At what point is God going to have enough and say, you're not going to kick me out anymore?
Oh, he's here. He's ready.
I know.
he's here, and he's got warriors. You guys are warriors. There's lots of warriors out there. And I wanted to tell you about a person that I met several years ago. She's from California. Her name is Jacqueline, and I already sent you her email, Greg. And she is been working on In God We Trust across America, trying to get that in every single city structure. When I met her 5 or 6 years ago, I approached my city because I said I'd like to see it in the chambers, In God We Trust. And they said, oh, you're going to have to write the agenda item yourself, and then we'll approve it. So I wrote the agenda item myself. They approved it. They let me do my speech. They voted on it. They voted it down.
Wow.
Yeah, they let it down. Then I asked if everybody would be allowed to have 2 chickens because I was concerned about people here that are on food stamps. And one guy got up in chamber and in the comments he asked them, and he was so humble and so respectful. He brought tears to my eyes because he was asking them for permission to have 2 chickens so his family could eat off the eggs, and they told him no.
Wow.
So I wrote an article and submitted to the local newspaper, and I said, if you're in Northport and God comes into town packing chickens, he's not welcome. And I got a lot of people asking me, what are you talking about? And I said, here, I'm referring you to the city. This is exactly what the city told me. This is what the city told the gentleman.
I love that story.
God is, yeah.
Wow.
So I sent you her email, so you'll have her contact.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get in touch with her because that is.
You'll like her.
Yeah, that's a mission all of its own that could really speak volumes for sure.
Well, you know what I think too is I think about the people that want to remove God and say, well, nobody should be forced, blah 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 blah. I would say to them, it's not about. I mean, obviously to us, we know it's about honoring God. That's really what we need to be doing. But even people who don't know God, just by them saying one nation under God is not forcing them to believe in God. It's just, I believe it's like bringing them to a place where they're like willing to respect the founding of this country. What God had, kind of brought our country about, and it was because of him that we were able to have the freedoms we have. So it's almost like, not everybody who wrote on the Declaration and signed their name were Christians, but even the ones that weren't had a deep respect for God. You know what I mean? So it's just because you don't believe in God and have a Christian faith doesn't mean you can't still recognize, the blessings that have come to our country, the good stuff that's come to our country. I think you could still do that without having to say something you don't necessarily believe. You know what I mean? Like as far as if you're not a Christian, you can still acknowledge that there's good and good has come. I know it's better to just say, hey, God did it, because that's really what people need to recognize. But like they're saying, nobody should be forced to do it. But at the same time, you shouldn't have to be forced to be able to recognize and have a reverence or respect for where our country came from.
Well, and not only that, but here he's saying we're not here to force our will onto the people, right? In that clip.
But they are.
Well, they are. That's the hypocrisy.
They're atheism.
Hypocrisy. But look at what the Democrats are forcing on our will when it comes to Israel, the Jewish people, right? Okay, I'm going to transition to this real quick, this clip, because we know all about Omar and her hatred of the Jews and
her work with the Muslim Brotherhood.
Exactly. And so it is the hate the Jew, the same spirit that was in Nazi Germany,
anti-Semitic.
And they're getting away with it. Nancy Pelosi is too. I don't know if she's scared or just overran, but she wouldn't even call out Omar. What in the world was that? Here I am having computer problems. Jackson's over here
jiggling stuff over here.
I'm like, oh no, here we go.
You totally just threw his train of thought.
So
I saw the train wreck there on your eyes when he did that.
Yeah. And so we have this anti-Semitic against the Jews, okay? Right. So it's all seeping out. But just check out what Lindsey Graham said about this.
Let's start with a party that can't even make a simple condemnation of virulent racism and anti-Semitism because they don't have the votes.
Well, they're afraid. They're afraid of the radical left. But this is going on all over the world, just not in the United States. The Labour Party in Britain is becoming more anti-Semitic by the day. Israel's the bad guy. The Palestinians are the oppressed. Israel gets rockets fired into Israel from Gaza by Hamas. They never say a word. They blame Israel when they fight back. So they're afraid not to impeach the president. They're afraid of getting a primary. They got a billionaire paying money to run against any Democrat who won't vote for impeachment. They got the radical left threatening to have a revolt inside the Democratic Party if you stand up against anti-Semitism because they hate Israel so much. That's pretty odd.
Okay, so I played that clip to bring this to the table. Jack, What does God say about blessing Israel?
Those who bless Israel, he will bless. Those who curse Israel, he will curse.
Okay, so not only are we having a party removing God solely from their platform now, blatantly, now we've got a group of them cursing Israel. And this happens right as the Mueller report drops.
Right.
So they've got two major strikes against them from God. What do you think about that, Sherry?
Oh, I think they all need to be perp walked in public. When they show up on their jobs, I want them arrested and I want them perp walked on TV.
Amen.
These people are communists. They're against everything our founding fathers fought for.
Yep. Now
they're evil, and they're out to destroy our country.
Yeah, they are. Now, I want to bring this up. I mean, why has Trump, a lot of presidents or just people in general, they would want to pattern themselves or have an idol. I wouldn't say idol. That's the wrong word. Let's scratch that. But have like a mentor of a John F. Kennedy or an Abraham Lincoln. But Trump comes to the table with a mentor of Andrew Jackson.
Love it.
So, if you go back and you look at Andrew Jackson's history, he was a bad dude, man.
I'm going to burn down the bank.
I love him.
Well, what's he do, man? He stands on the wall at the Mexican border glaring at the Mexican army while he's just getting pelted with bullets, man. I mean, what was he shot, like 10 or 12 times? And just standing there glaring at them, and then when he got done looking at them, he just walked down off the wall with his bullet holes and just kept on going. So, I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
As to what, as to what Trump has up his sleeve as far as the perp walk, the hangings. I mean, why would Lindsey Graham question Kavanaugh about military tribunals and people actually being put to death for treason?
Yeah.
I think it was blatantly obvious, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's kind of a coincidence. No?
I think they're already going on.
Yeah.
Right.
I do believe it's already going on.
Right.
We're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, real quick, not to change the subject, but
we have to round up all the doubles. We have to round up all the doubles. Hillary Clinton doubles, all that stuff.
Yeah. Now, okay. Now, I know they do have doubles, but but these like triplets and quadruplets and all that, do you think there's even more than just doubles?
I don't know. I've been listening to different people that know a heck of a lot more than I know, and they seem to believe there is.
Yeah, I believe there could be as well. I wished I would have saved the clip. I don't know if I saw it a week or 2 weeks ago, but Hillary Clinton came out to do a speech. And she was like so precise with her wording. She looked 10 years younger. And I know the baby's blood that they rejuvenate themselves with is not going to make you look that much younger.
Right.
No. And plus she has Kuru disease from it. I mean, it rots your brain. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at the way what they do with their features, their facial features, their hands, their movements, what they're doing. They're all eaten up with Kuru.
Yeah. Wow. So, do you think the pedophilia and the sacrifice of children is going to come out in the mainstream? Do you think Trump's going to allow that?
Yes, it absolutely has to. It's going to make people vomit. They're not going to want to believe it, but they're going to have to. They're going to have to face it and know that this is what you supported. This is what you supported. Yeah. When I drive down the road and I see a Hillary sticker or a Bernie sticker, I just my head wants to explode. It's like, how evil can you people be to support this? And did you notice that Bernie showed up with one of those black eyes?
No, I didn't.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The black-eyed group?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now Bernie had a black eye. What's that telling us?
Well, explain to us what the black eye is, for those who don't know.
It's a ritual that they go through. John Kerry had the black eye. John McCain had the black eye. Numerous ones. Prince Andrew had the black eye. It's a ritual they go through. It's a part of their satanic rituals. These guys are all a part of it. They're a part of this satanic evil.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so obvious about it. They're out in public. You know, you're seeing them. And it's like, wow, you guys don't even care that we're catching on to this, that we're seeing what you are. They think they hide behind symbols and signs, but we're getting it now. We're understanding what you're doing.
Yeah. Reminds me of the Jeffrey Epstein thing, you know, Lolita Express and the,
Yes.
It's all part of, see, I've got a background in film, you know, and I lived in California for my whole life until about 10, 12 years ago. And I mean, I didn't get really deep, but just a little bit of the film industry. I could totally see they got the whole casting couch thing they talk about. And then you hear stories of, you know, young actors, you know, being, you know, molested by directors or like, you know, put into situations where in order to get a part, they need to do stuff. And it's always like this kind of a joke to everybody. Like on the few film sets I've been on, the casting couch is always a big joke. But when you stop to think about it, you're like, wow, that's actually very evil. Yeah, I mean, they joke about that stuff. And you know that just the way that they behave and that they have to have with a lot of these directors in Hollywood and you know, in Disney and stuff, a lot of these directors are actually pedophiles, you know, a lot of them, and they're enabled to still be around kids, and they just hide it from everybody. It's like, oh my gosh, man. It just lets you know the kind of power that these people have within the industry to be able to hide that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, man.
Well, and don't you think the latest exposure with the college kids, the parents paying the kids to get into school, do you really think that's all that's behind this?
Oh, no. There's more.
No,
yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot more going on to this story.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this leads me back to Jeremiah. You know, I talked earlier about how God's judgment being shown the various ways with the weapons of their warfare turned against them, which we're seeing, turned against us. The judgment of being judged because of the sins of our fathers. You know, we're seeing how the sins of our fathers, we've allowed it to increase to this level, okay, with abortion and all of that. Now, also in Jeremiah, and I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face, Jeremiah was commanded to take the spiritual leaders of that day down to I think it's the Valley of Ben Hinnom, but it's later called the Valley of Gehenna, and show them what was taking place in that valley, and then to break a clay pot. And if they don't do something about it, God's going to break them like a clay pot. So Jeremiah did that very thing. He took them down there and showed them everything going on in the Valley of Gehenna. So, or Ben Hinnom. So with that being stated, there's nothing new under the sun. What's been done will be done again. It just stands to reason, since we are seeing the weapons of our warfare being turned against us, since we are seeing us being judged because of the sins of our fathers, it would stand to reason that we will be shown everything that has been going on in our modern-day Valley of Gehenna. Does it not seem that way to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has to. You're going to have to decide. Everybody's going to have to make a decision. You can't sit on the fence anymore. You can't be lukewarm. You better be hot. You better be really upset and ready to do something about this.
I think,
you know, just like I said, just watching that first segment, I was crying, and it was awful. And I didn't even look at it. I couldn't. I just listened. Because I thought, no, you can't unsee what you've already seen. I'm not going to put that stuff in my head, but just listening to what was going on, no, this is beyond anything that we should ever be tolerating. And, yeah, I want every one of those people to pay. Every one of them must pay. And we need to I'm talking about pulling it out by the roots, folks, the roots, exposing every single one of them.
Yep.
So they can't walk down a street. Their children can't walk down a street.
Yep.
Well, I sure hope it happens. I hope this is exposed. I mean, Jeremiah showed them all that was going on. It just stands to reason we're going to be shown all that's going on, and then the clay pot will be broken, and God's going to say, now, there's all your evidence. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Well, I had a conversation with an individual that has a lot more contacts, and we were having the same conversation. And she was telling me that they're looking at the algorithms. By them, I mean Trump. He's waiting for a certain number of the algorithms to show that they've awoken, that they're awake. And when that happens, then the disclosure will come about, because they're going to need people like you, Greg, and like you, Chuck, to walk them through the process, because they're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we have been being built for a time such as this, so that we can.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You're going to be the one that's going to help them cross that bridge. I do believe when this comes out, there are going to be people that are going to suicide themselves.
Yeah.
I look, when I'm driving in traffic and I stop at a red light, I look around me all the time, and I look at the faces, and I think, nope, that one's going to commit suicide. No, this one will join the Army. He'll be a good guy. I mean, you can see it. You can tell how people you can tell the ones that are sound asleep and that won't ever wake up, that really they won't be able to handle it.
It seems to be the people that are the most, like, I don't say vocal, but people, it's like you said, some people are in the slumber, and the slumber is the people it's going to hit the hardest, because they have no idea that this is coming. Exactly. And the people that are most upset, like what you're saying, like how you're upset about it, are the people that you're kind of almost like already primed for the truth, for the whole, the main part of it, because you're already repulsed by the evil, and you're ready to say something about it, and you already are. So it's exciting to talk to people.
People like me, at this point, we're ready for justice now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been sitting on the justice car for a long time. It's like, okay, we want to see these people go down.
Yeah, it gives you a whole new respect for God, knowing that He has the power to just vaporize them or just stop their hearts from beating and wipe them out. The fact that He does it is just like, oh my goodness.
To outer darkness.
Exactly.
Just jettison them off planet to outer darkness and just stay frozen. Boom, you're over there.
Yeah. Well, you know what the Scripture says about those who harm little children? I mean, it's got some pretty harsh words where it talks about it'd be better for them to never be born, or for them to have a rock tied around their neck and them drowned. I mean, when he starts describing stuff and giving you things like that, he doesn't just say I'm abhorred by it. He said it would have been better if you had never been born, or that you'd been drowned, so you couldn't do something. I was like, whoa,
So as outraged and indignant as I am, you know that our Lord, our God, is really fuming, just fuming. And I know everything's in His perfect timing. It's not in my timing. But we're ready. I mean, we're past ready. We want to see these. And I don't want to call them people, because they're not. These are not people.
Well, they're being ran by the spiritual realm. We do not battle the flesh; we battle principalities and powers.
These are demons.
Yeah, I'm gonna share something with you here on principalities. Y'all go ahead.
I was thinking about what you're saying, and I really, really agree much of what you're saying. I think also, though, along with that, it's important to what they're doing is obviously they're being completely demon-filled to do something like that, because only somebody who's beyond affection, like the Bible talks about, they'll be beyond affection. That's the only way they can do that. Yet, still, there's that essence of God in them because they're alive. So I say that pray that they be brought to justice, but also pray for their souls, because even Paul said, when he's talking about those who are enemies of the cross, that their end is destruction. He said it weeping, that he didn't say it with because he didn't want them to be completely destroyed. He wanted them to come to know the Lord.
We're all linked spiritually. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. You don't want to see your sister or your brother go to outer darkness. You don't want to see them go that path. Of course, we want to pray for them. We do want that part of that Holy Spirit that's in them to be redeemed, to be awakened, so they can be contrite. They can come forward.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where the mercy comes in. But the mercy comes in when when we come to repentance, then the Lord's there to forgive us. He's quick, slow to anger, but quick to forgive. But I think that's depending upon their reaction. Like if they're, like you said, they're contrite and they're willing to acknowledge that they've messed up, then that grace and that forgiveness comes in real quick. If they harden themselves to it, that's when the breaking happens. It's like then they're at the point where they're not willing to do that. And the Lord's like, all right, well, you're not going to keep doing this. So
Right, and that's referring to back when I'm seeing comments on Twitter, I'm seeing comments in different places requesting that they do that you have an opportunity now to do this.
Yeah.
The clock's ticking. Now it's time to come forward.
Well,
or you're going to be, in the lake of fire. So, do the thing you need to do right now.
Yeah. Well, here's something that we really need to take a hold of here and look at, because when God said we do not battle the flesh, we battle principalities, powers, and spiritual wickedness and high. Let's take a look at the definition of principalities. The definition of principalities is a state ruled by a prince, usually a relatively small state or a state that falls within a large empire, such as an empire. The position or authority of a prince or chief ruler, sovereignty, supreme power. The rule of a prince of a small or subordinate state. So basically, what a principality is, it is the deep state ran by a prince or a chief ruler. That chief ruler, that prince of the air, is Satan. So God told us specifically that we are going to be battling principalities, which is a state ruled by a prince that has the supreme authority. And what are we fighting right now? We're fighting the deep state, a principality. Their ruler is Satan. So it's spelled out in the Bible if we just look.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you have the whole way they operate too is through deception, lies. Like, and you look at it, it's like they really can't talk without lying or being deceptive because they're not concerned about the truth. They're concerned about people's perceptions. You have. I'm trying to think of, I always forget her name, maybe because my mind is just, subconsciously blocking it. But the woman she was really, really defiant. She's talking about running for president. You know who I'm talking about?
Camilla Harris?
Yeah. And, they're really only concerned with the narrative. Like I remember she was questioning somebody and she goes, I think it was an ICE guy. He said, are you concerned of the perception of bad? And it's like, I'm sitting here thinking, man, if I was that guy, I'd be like, you know what? I'm more concerned whether I'm doing the right thing and not what people are perceiving that I'm doing the right thing or not. Like she kept coming back to that. Well, she kept saying it over and again. Aren't you concerned of the perception of what you're doing? I'm sitting there going, is this person for real? They're more concerned about what is perceived to be right or wrong versus what actually is right or wrong. Like what do people think about you? Don't you care about what people are thinking about you?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's like that fear of man. Aren't you concerned? Aren't you afraid of what people think about you? I just floored me when I heard her kept saying that. And the guy's like, no, we do this, blah, blah. Well, aren't you concerned about the perception? And it's just like the Lord kept bringing, this is the fear of man that I'm talking about. The fear of man is a snare to the soul. Their souls are ensnared by what people think. Because that's what they worship. They worship what people perceive them versus what God says that they are. It's like, wow.
Well, let me add this real quick. Also, in the definition of principalities, another definition is an order of angels. Okay, powers often in conflict with God, and it gives reference here to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Again, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, and against the powers of this dark world, and against spiritual forces of evil in heaven and in heavenly realms. And like you said, Sherry, therefore, put on the full armor of God. That's what Q had posted. Not to put all the faith in Q, but we were told 3-4 weeks ago about what we're seeing now happening with these drops, and that's what he put was that scripture. Put on the full armor of God, because this is going to get nasty, folks.
Yeah,
it's going to get really nasty.
Yeah, I mean, this is not just
what happened in New Zealand, right?
Right.
Okay, we know what that was.
Well,
and then this and woman who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she's not a woman, that's a man. And I'm tired of all that, too. I'm tired of all that deception.
Yeah. Well, you bring up New Zealand. Interesting thought, because I've got friends all over the place. One in particular, Sister Jamie over in England, who reminded me that they're still on their daylight savings times. So we're only 5 hours behind instead of 6. So she can tune in at 11 o'clock at night, her time, instead of midnight. So, and also to add a little bit to that, a lot of the things that I share and post, England has it blocked. They can't even look at it. Like, she'll let me know that some article I post, it's totally blocked on her end when everybody in America can see it. And that's going to be next weekend's show, where I'm going to be talking about how they are ramping up their banning. They're ramping up on censorship now. Right. I mean, they're going all in, folks. They are going all in. And I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, but with that being stated, how are these algorithms going to focus on these other countries? Because when she had asked me a question, well, Q said the countdown was T-minus 21 and counting, and the countdown ended on March the 19th, and we didn't really see anything big happen on the 19th. However, now we're seeing this report being delivered just a few days later. But Q had said that countdowns, like on a NASA countdown, usually has pauses where there may be a weather infraction that causes them to delay a countdown, okay? And he had said that they put this countdown out so that the deep state would use up their ammunition in regards to that of New Zealand. You know, knowing the countdown was fixing to end, well, then they had this big thing in New Zealand that just covered the news and took away from the end of the countdown, when at the end of the countdown, nothing happened until days after. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Trump is getting them to use up their ammunition, and they're doing it so sloppily now that they're being caught. Now, let me run this up your flagpole, Sherry, see if you salute, okay? What we have here is we know that the rich elite are bugging out into New Zealand. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, he's got a place out there in New Zealand. They got bunkers out in New Zealand. They're all bankers and all. They're moving to New Zealand. And you brought up the Prime Minister of New Zealand. How convenient now that it's all about to hit the fan, and they are going to have to bug out now to save themselves. How convenient now New Zealanders are not allowed to have guns when they're going to be bugging out. So now that when the information does drop and the people of New Zealand know that they're over there in New Zealand, right, the New Zealanders are not going to have a way to defend themselves. How convenient.
Well, you know, you have to look back at prior wars. You know, there's always these Molotov cocktails. I mean, there's always a way to fight back. Mm-hmm. So you may not need a gun.
Right.
And like you said, when we're wearing the armor of God, He's going to supply us the ammo.
Yep.
So it might not always be guns. Remember, this is a whole different landscape over there. And hopefully those people are clannish and will be able to overrun the elites through stealth and intelligence.
Well, they probably know their land.
You know, I wouldn't let that. I mean, I just think it was a big red flag, and especially when all of our guys now are jumping on it here. This happened in New Zealand. Now we've got all our little politicians, the same ones that always want to steal our guns, are back on that track again. Oh, we got to take the guns away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand it because they have such cool technology. They could take us out at any time. They don't need our guns.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand what that's always about.
5G, they could zap us all whenever they wanted to.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They don't need our guns.
Well, I wonder if they see the guns more almost as like a kind of like a not a confidence, but almost kind of like a booster for like morale. Like they almost look at it.
Demoralize us.
Yeah.
One way or the other to boost their confidence and demoralize us.
Yep.
So it's like a head game.
Yeah.
It's a power ploy. Oh, we're going to defeat you. We're going to take this away from you. We're going to take that. They've been doing it forever. They've been taking stuff from us forever. So you're virtually a slave anyway.
Yeah.
And it's time for the slaves to wake up.
Yeah, it is. Well, and that's what kind of troubles me, because this is not just in America. These corrupt elite are all over the place. And if these other countries like Britain and the UK and England and all those areas over there that are blocking so much that these people just don't know, it's good that there are programs like this, because she's able to tune into these programs, and hear the truth. Sherry, we're running up to the end of the program, but I have been getting flooded with messages of people wanting to know that YouTube site that you have been referencing. That
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, I'm so glad. Yeah, because everybody, and I don't even know that I would want Jackson to see it, but like I said, pray before you view it. I'm going back to the site now so I can give it to you. It's the Black Banners of the East. If you'll just type in when you're on YouTube, when you go to the search bar, type in the Black, B-L-A-C-K, Banners, B-A-N-N-E-R-S, of the East, and then just put Pizzagate. And there's a series of 4 programs. And I'm very sensitive. I don't like that kind of thing, but I thought, no, you got to know what you're talking about. Because people have been saying, oh, it's all a lie, it's all garbage, it's not the truth. And then when you watch this, you realize, oh, my God, it is the truth. And we do need to know about it. And we do need to help our relatives, our friends, our neighbors, and slowly start breaking stuff to them. Now, my neighbors think I'm a total nut job. But what's funny is, over the years, they've realized that everything I've said has come true.
That has a way of persuading people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that person I thought that was crazy! Wow." I used to work at Publix.
It all happened 5 years later. Yeah, it all happened.
It's funny because I used to work at Publix, and the guy said, I remember them kind of looking at me like, "Man, what are you talking about?" Because I started talking about the deep state, and they're like, "What's the deep state?" And I started talking about the shadow government, how there was a fallback government set up in case something happened to many different people within our government, president, vice president, blah blah blah. There's like a fallback. So people would be able to step up. And I talked about how that had been corrupted by the deep state. Basically it's like a competing government against our government. And they're like, "Whoa, that's crazy. This is like a conspiracy." I go, "No," I said, "I promise you." And I started talking about the terror stuff, that it's going to increase. I watch a lot of InfoWars, and I watch, obviously other stations too. I quote InfoWars a lot just because I really like them a lot. I like especially, was it David Knight? And I liked a lot of their information. I got a lot of good intel. But we started talking about the terror attacks and how they were going to increase. And then all of a sudden, it was a couple of years ago, and then they were just start happening, boom, boom, boom. And I started saying stuff, and it was like, "Dude, I thought you were crazy, man." Now I'm going, "Man, this guy is onto something." And they're like, kind of like you were saying, they think you're crazy, but then you start almost like, it's almost like a prophecy. Like God starts showing you insight, and you start sharing, "Hey, this is what's going to happen." They're like, "Dang, dude, you, I thought you were crazy, but man, I can't deny it now."
Neighbors, family, you just want to say, "Look, don't have your head in the sand. That's really dangerous for you."
Yep.
You need to look around and know your surroundings, know what's going on, and be able to read people, be able to read what's going on around you.
Yep.
Because things are not going to be pretty. We're going to have to be really. Like I said, armoring yourself with the cloth of God all over the place, everywhere you go. Say your prayers every step you make.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, we just got some information. Sister Cheryl shared this, that Q's dropping right now, and Q has just said that Mueller and Rosenstein are white hats. And
I knew it.
And yeah, this is just dropped. So I'm on Q right now. Not that I'm leaning on. Let's see.
Oh, I know.
Well, you can lean on something if it's true. That's really why you're leaning on it.
Yeah. Well,
what we're doing when we listen to Q, it's not it's not like the Bible.
Right.
No, we're looking for insight.
Right.
Because Q asks questions, and then it makes you look at questions. It's like, yeah, okay, let's look at this. So basically, I look at Q as a source of making me think, do some critical thinking, and I can either accept it or reject it.
Right.
That's what we all need to do with everything.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a
We need discernment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but we do need to do research. We do need to know what's out there. We need to know what's going on. I happen to be very positive. I think a lot of good stuff is going to come down the pike. But I do think in the interim we're going to have more false flags.
Yeah.
More of the crazy-eyed people, which is like the Democrat Party.
Right.
You know, you look at these guys and it's like, oh my God, because they have no connection to anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you realize, okay, these people are nuts. They don't care. They are crazy.
You think of that scripture, it talks about their eyes being dark. You know, if your eyes are dark, then your whole soul is also dark. And you really see, like you said, with their eyes just bugging out, you can literally see like physical evil, like with their eyes. Like these people are really crazy. Like they're got some demonic stuff going on because you look at their eyes and it's kind of freaky.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, man, this is crazy.
Let me share this. This is the latest one of the latest drops here. It says the calm before the storm ? What happens when a blockade threat is dismantled and removed? You'll find out. Children used as shields, manufacture crimes of perjury, fire at will, Commander Q. So apparently we're about to find out that a threat was dismantled and removed. So okay, let's see. Cheryl said that she has the 8chan board up. They put the drops together. The autists put it together. Okay, thank you there. All right, we're going to have to call it a night. This has been a great program. And Sherry, I'm glad to have you on, man. I hadn't talked to you in a while.
Thank you, guys. I hope I helped a little bit.
Oh yeah,
most definitely. And so the phone system is holding in. I see.
This is great.
It's beautiful.
All right. Well, maybe this was the Lord's way of getting the things that we need for the days that are coming ahead.
Right. Absolutely.
That's cool, man.
So
we're going to have some great days ahead.
That's right.
For a heads up, folks.
I really
don't be depressed.
Yeah, I really believe that we are. And let me just close with this because this is. Robin reminded us of some things here. Be dressed in readiness and keep your lamps lit. Be like men who are waiting for their master when he returns from the wedding feast, so that they may immediately open the door to him when he comes and knocks.
That's right.
Blessed are those slaves whom the masters will find on the alert when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will gird himself to serve and have them recline at the table, and will come up and wait on them, whether he comes in the second watch or even the third watch, and finds them so blessed as those are slaves, blessed are those slaves. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have allowed his house to be broken into.
Right.
You too be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that we think not. Luke 12:35-40. So friends, put on the armor of God, because the door to the ark is truly slamming shut. And if it's not the coming of the Lord, it's definitely for the principalities that are about to be unveiled. Nice. So, all right, girl. Well, listen, I could hear your chicken story 1,000 times and I still laugh. But you make a lot of sense, and I love it.
Yep.
And we love you, and thank you for all that you do.
That's right.
Oh, I love you and your precious son.
Amen. He needs his mic on.
Yeah, I turned his mic down. Jack, you've never met Sherry, have you?
I don't believe so.
Well, we're going to have to.
Oh.
We're going to have to change that. We're going to have to take a plane ride down to Florida.
All right, sounds
good. Yeah,
good.
hit Hackey River with all the alligators.
Nice. Oh, hey, speaking of that, I was reading in the TWRA article that now we have alligators in West Tennessee.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man. I
wonder
was
if
like,
the flooding has anything to do with it raising the river levels.
Probably does, but I doubt they're going to be able to stand our winters. But but if
I don't know. They're tough critters.
Well, if Sherry was to see you now, Jack, she would be like, I mean, because you look just like I did at that age.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So, all right, well.
Hey, he's turning red.
He is turning red.
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh. That's the sunburn I got today.
That's funny.
Yeah, and Jack, just improved eggs, so you've got it made, honey.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to turn you loose, girl, and thank you so much for being a part.
Thank you so much, and God bless everyone.
You too.
God bless you too.
That's right.
And that was Sister Sherry down in Florida. Y'all hear us talk about her quite a bit. And so, hey, we're back up and running now, folks. So we'll be back with you next weekend, Lord willing, and the creeks don't continue to rise. And tune in to the Christian Truckers Network on iHeartRadio, Spreaker Radio. They have a phone number. And
hey, also check out the human trafficking truckers. What was that guy we had on?
Vigilante Justice.
There we go. Yeah, check them out too.
Vigilante Justice. Yeah, check them out too. They're doing a great deed and a great deal. Well, all right. That's the latest, friends. We're back up and running. This was kind of a quick... Excuse me.
It's about the season for that.
Yeah. That was a quick put together for a show.
He's all choked up
because I was putting the final. I was dotting the T's and crossing the I's right before showtime to get everything up and running. So next week we're going to be full bore, full strong. So sorry I got choked.
Pray
up.
that the Lord allows these this pollen to kind of die down a little bit too. I've been getting tore up lately myself, sneezing like crazy and coughing.
Amen.
Yeah.
So, well, Jack, good to have you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. You're looking good. You got an exciting summer planned?
Yeah, I'm going to a couple places this summer.
All right, good deal. And our producer, Brother Bennett, back here. How you doing, Bennett? Doing good. All right, well, I'm going to choke to death out here, so we'll go ahead and say 73s to all y'all out that way. And, Chuck, I hope you can find you some sand, man.
Well, hopefully the creek levels continue to drop, which I imagine they probably will as long as the rain stays away. But, yeah, it all works out either way.
All right, good deal. Well, friends, that's the latest going on. Keep your eyes on the news. Be in prayer. Put on the armor of God.
That's right.
Because,
full armor of God.
It's going to get nasty. It really is. When this hits, expect false flags. Expect anything to divert the attention away from the news media. Expect it.
Yep.
It's coming. And we have to have our homes and our houses right with the Lord.
That's right.
So, until next time, I am Old Smokehouse.
I'm Chuck Bird.
I'm Jackson.
And we will catch you later. Bye-bye.
Smokehouse. To talk to Smokehouse, dial 641-552-9354. That number once again, 641-552-9354. And enter access code 252380, followed by the pound sign. Call in and join the show.
SmokehouseStudios.net. God is among us. The door to the ark is slamming shut.